Hey guys, it's Blaire, the Love Guru from loveguru.net, thealiennetwork.com, and horsehealer.net. And welcome to this video. It's been a while since I made some videos. I've been very busy in the matrix creating the life of my dreams. So, what we're going to talk about today, what I'm going to talk about today is one of the lessons that I learned from being homeless, my homeless experience, and how it is helping me create the life of my dreams now. So before I get to that, I do want to share that I have been posting some new classes online, things that I think that you'll really like, really awesome classes. You can find them at loveguru.net and thealiennetwork.com. If you click on the classes tab under love, love events, as well as freedom, the activist tab. So some of those classes, just want to give you like a heads up, is how to easily, effortlessly, and naturally attract the one to you, not using dating apps. How to find someone new after a breakup or divorce and not repeat the same mistakes. You've been brainwashed, clearing programming from your family, from your friends, from the media, from society. These are all different classes that I have going. They're ongoing, monthly, online. You can join anytime you want. Uh, Triggered by world events. If you're unhappy, angry, frustrated by whatever's going on in America or the world, come to that class. I'll help you process your emotions in a healthy way so that you step into your power. I have my class, New World Order for Newbies, which talks about the New World Order, which is the big picture of everything that's happening in this realm. It helps you understand why the crazy things are happening in this world, like all the political events and the weather events and like literally everything, like the market, the stock market crash, like and crypto crash, like literally everything going on all comes together when you understand the New World Order. I teach you that during this class. You come with your questions. I'm also teaching a class, understanding and mastering the matrix, which is stuff that I love talking about. And again, that's a lot of the work. Well, that's all of the work I've been doing these days in my life. I've been very busy playing the game here that we're in, the Matrix, and busy jumping timelines and just really interesting stuff, like just manipulating the Matrix. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. And then I'm going to be teaching this class too. Lessons that I learned from my homeless experience and how it's teaching me, how it's helping me, how it's helped me and helping me build the life of my dreams. And I'm putting up a lot more classes. Those are just some of the classes. I have classes running every week in the month, and it's just on a repeating basis. I think there's like 4 or 5 classes I'm teaching each week, and I look forward to seeing you on one or all of them or many of them. Like I said, there's like really cool material that I'm teaching. A lot of them you get personal coaching if you want it. It's very interactive. I have my books. I'm going to be talking. I also have like a class about my positive alien experience. There's a lot of stuff going up, a lot of dating, relationships, spirituality classes, matrix classes, and New World Order classes, and how to be a leader who leads in truth, honesty, integrity, and for the good of all. Those are all the activist classes, the freedom classes. So today I want to talk to you about a lesson, one of the many lessons I learned from my homeless experience. If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I went through some, we'll say, bumpy road for should we say a couple of years? I've been through many bumpy roads in many different areas of my life. I've been in bumpy roads in my love life. I've been in bumpy roads with my family several times. I've been in bumpy roads with living situation. I've been had bumpy roads with health. Um, with money, with career, like fucking everything. I've been in bumpy roads. But what I'm talking about here is how for around a year and a half or so, I mean, it's kind of questionable as far as how long I was on my homeless experience, because then it turned into a freedom journey, and I've written books about it. And they're not out now when I'm recording this video, but maybe by the time you watch this video, you will see them out. There's a whole series of books that I wrote about how I became homeless and like where I was living, and again, all the lessons that I learned on it. So I'm starting to teach that material now, even though the books aren't out. Um, because I've really transformed that experience into like a pot of gold. Like it actually was a huge gift for me. And now it's all making sense, because when I was going through that experience, my soul was really teaching me and helping me learn how to hone in my gift to manifest, to create the life that I want. Because what was going on was I moved out to Pennsylvania. I had manifested this large house. It was a three-bedroom house, several floors on several acres of land, out in the country. It was the dream that I had. I ended up living there for free. There's like so many layers to this story that makes it like fucking amazing. But I'm not going to go over that right now. You'll just have to read the books or just stay tuned and like keep watching the videos and just keep watching the material, reading the material, learning and stuff like that. But there's so many layers of like again that just makes this story like amazing. And that's why again I want to just start talking about it, because I just feel in such gratitude for like what I went through and what I learned. Um so let's organize our thoughts here. What was going on was I moved out to Pennsylvania. I moved from Jersey, northern Jersey, right outside New York City, to Pennsylvania, because it was like right after the con, and like we were all sold this like programming to move out to the country, right? You have to understand like everything you have is everything that's put out into the world is like you're being programmed in one way or the other. So I got that programming because I was part of like the truther community and the freedom community. And it was like, go out to the country and live off the grid and be sovereign and blah, 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 blah. So I was trying to get away from smart city action because I saw that being put up all around me. The different levels of 5G were going up. They were putting up like a higher level of 5G all around me. And then there was like smart meters going in my apartment complex that were going to be like right underneath me. And I was like, oh, this is a hell to the no. Like I'm definitely like fucking out of here now. But like I wanted to get out of that apartment complex for a while. I couldn't find a place of where I wanted to live in Jersey. I couldn't figure out what town was like good for me anymore, because like I love Jersey. I'll just tell you, I love Jersey. I love my Jersey people. And like also a lot of my friends here in Pennsylvania are from Jersey. Anyway, so but whatever. Anyway, so I was like I need to get out of here. And then I did like this hardcore like manifesting, like intensive, like just finding a new place to live. Like I gave my apartment complex. This is like more than what I was going to share, but like I told my apartment complex like, "Hey, I'm moving out." I gave 30 days notice, and I didn't have a new place to live. And I really did not have much money either. But I was like just like I'm out of here. I don't want to be involved with all this like smart city shit going up around me. And I'm like I've just had enough of where I'm living. I'm like done with it. And I was like just every single like every day, all day long, I was focusing my mind and my energy on like getting this place in the country in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't have at that time I didn't have family or friends in Pennsylvania, and I didn't know the different towns, the different cities. I didn't know anything. I went to one area one area or a couple areas just to explore for like day trips. But I also like didn't really want to be driving to Pennsylvania that much, because it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours of like where I was going to go, where I was like exploring to like live. And again, there's like other layers to this on how like I brought this about, but it was like a really an incredible story. So I was really focused on like manifesting this my dream house. And it again, it just kind of seemed in a way it was impossible. In many ways, it was impossible. If I had shared this experience, this story with anybody or like people who were not like supporting me or believing in this stuff, they would have said, Blaire, you're crazy. Like you don't have money to pay for this. Like, where the fuck are you going? You don't even know where you're going. You don't know anybody there. And like, your business is not set up there. And like, and or like, what are you doing when you move out there? Like, there was no real like logical thought process around any of this. It was just like, I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge and I'm moving out to the country and I want to be in a beautiful house on lots of land and I want to start raising animals and I want to like be with my farmer husband. Like I did not have a husband then and I was not like dating anybody or whatever, but like this was the dream. You know, I watched like one too many Hallmark movies and I was like, I'm going to get myself this like wilderness man and we're going to have lots of babies out in the country and raise animals and just like live that life. So I was going for it, and the days passed by. And again, I have nowhere to move. And at that time, I was not on good terms with my parents either. Like, I've been on and off estranged from my parents and my family for like, I think it's been like 12 years or 13 years. You could read about that in my Alien series books. It's all written out there. The two of the series are out, two of the books of the series are out now, and then the rest are going to follow. But it's all about the drama and like that I was going through with my parents. Moving back into their house after I moved back from Florida. That was a whole other story. Like it's been nonstop, like bumpy roads for like over a decade. But they all they all connect to helping me just become this like awesome person and like manifest like the shit out of like my reality. Um, so yeah, so the Alien series thing, basically, like that was like when my soul and spirit, like that was after I had like that was right when Zeke, my star brother, came into my life. And then he brought me back to like my childhood home. And then I had to like confront, because like for years I've been doing all this healing on ch healing your childhood wounds. And that's what one of the many things that I help people with is like healing your childhood wounds and healing those triggers. Because unless those things are healed, you're never free and you're never going to be able to live the life that you desire. So I was doing all this work with that. And then they brought me back into my childhood home and it was like fucking hell. Like I never remembered my like I grew up with like this experience or like this I was being told that like I had like a really nice close-knit family and like everything was great and I did have problems when I was like younger with them, but it was like nothing, it never really seemed like so major. But then like when I went back into like my parents' house, like being older and having healed these wounds, I was seeing like crazy shit happen and like how they were like treating me and like what was going on. And like I was confronted with all of these triggers that I had to look at and like heal at deeper levels. And that took a wild ride. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert, but it's going to fucking blow your mind as far as what happened. Like, really in the negative. Let's just put it that way. So, um, that's what you can read about in my whole Alien series. It goes into all of that. All right. Because it all has to do with like time travel and getting into your power and like shape shifting and manifesting and like all of like clearing your gunk. Like if you're an indigo like me, if you're a spiritual warrior, which is the same, I use interchangeably with an indigo, you're here to make a big impact in the world. And also what that means is like I also call you guys like awakened warriors. Like here's my shirt. Which you could get at the aliennetwork.com. Click on clothing. Um, but like you're here to go into dark places and then like brings your light. I go into the dark, bring my light, and I transform these dark, corrupt places. So I've been in my own training for many years. All of us have, but until you start getting on the other side of it, that you start turning these experiences into something positive, they're going to haunt you. It's going to be feeling like a lot of trauma. It is going to be a lot of trauma so it's going to be trauma on top of trauma until you learn to release the trauma. That's what I help you with, amongst like many other things. But like I've been doing that myself. One second, let me just have some water. There's my horse. Well, it's not my horse, but maybe it is. Go to horsehealer.net. I work with horses too, healing their trauma and humans' trauma and dogs' trauma. So, I'm just a trauma healer. What can I say? Um, so let's just finish the story a little bit about the manifesting the big house in the country. So by day 21, that I had to move out. Like I was already planning my move. I was all packed up. I figured out how I was going to drive out to Pennsylvania. I had like reserved a U-Haul. I had figured out like the general path of where I was going to be driving. I was like selling whatever remaining stuff I had, and I was like going on this adventure. Where was Blaire going? No idea. No, she had no house, and she was not going to go live in an apartment because that was like a very firm thing. Like I was like nervous about some stuff because I was like, I'm not going to live back in an apartment because everybody has their internet on and is like fucking radiating one another, and I'm not being involved with that because I don't live that lifestyle. Like I haven't watched TV in like a million years. Like I don't have that lifestyle. And like if I'm using the computer or like the internet, I'll like have it plugged in, and then when I'm done, I unplug it. And like that's the life I live. I don't have a cell phone. Like I just like that's me. I was living off grid before I was living off grid. You know what I'm saying? Like I was already living that lifestyle for a long time. That has been me. Um, I teach and preach what I live. I help you get into your power with that, with like clearing out these things that make you weak. All right, these distractions again, like so I was very much in this space of like magic and miracles. And like every day I would be just pounding the pavement with like doing my magic that I needed to get this house. And I was talking to spirit all the time, which I always did anyway. But I was like, I need to do this because again, like I'm not going into another apartment complex. Like I'm not living amongst all the EMFs. It's like and like I want the well water and like, it was just all these things that I wanted. And then magically, um, on day 21, I found this amazing house. It was a big house on a huge piece of property, and it was totally private. In fact, like I had several acres of just like forest land that I ended up when I moved out there, I would just hike back there. I've made some videos when I was back there. I was like snowshoeing back there. You just go out into and I used to like, it was funny because you go from this experience that people are around you all the time, and then you move out to Pennsylvania, depending on where you live. But like then you move out to this other area that's like complete contrast, and like no one was around me at all. And like I was in this like, hey, learn how to be self-sufficient. And I had to walk through fears and paranoia around that because then like I'm this single woman, single attractive woman in a house by myself in like the middle of nowhere. And like I had all these fears, like then I had to deal with all these fears of like, oh no, what if like somebody tries to come to the house? I don't have a gun. Like, how am I going to handle this? Like, how am I going to protect myself? What if some emergency happens? Like, who am I contacting? Like, no one's around. I don't know anyone here. Um, Then when I was like driving around, I had to like prepare my car in case like the second day I was in Pennsylvania, like I it was so confusing. Like I was just driving around trying to like explore things and like I ended up driving my car into a ditch. I've had some wild adventures. So I like drove my car into a ditch, like I was backing up. I thought I was going into someone's farm. And then I realized I pulled down their driveway because there was a sign there. In all fairness, there was a sign there. People like to have signs outside their house. For some reason in Pennsylvania, like they name their houses and there's like a sign out there, like it's a public place that anyone can enter. And then you go in and you like realize, oh no, this is private property. I better get the fuck out of here. These people have guns and you're on their property and they'll just shoot you, possibly. That was my like fears and my programming. So I was like backing out of somebody's, like I thought it was a farm. And then I realized, oh no, this is like private house. And then I was backing my car up and I ended up in a ditch. And I'm all by myself and literally no one's around. So my car's just in this ditch. I'm laughing because what the fuck else am I supposed to do? It's like hilarious. I think I had my like emergency phone on me, but who am I calling? I don't have any contacts. It was literally the second day I was in Pennsylvania. That's another, we'll leave that story. But well, actually, what I'll say is like I ended up finding the farm because it was like mislabeled. That was like another like kind of pet peeve I've had with Pennsylvania. Like out in the country, like a lot of these people don't really explain things well. Like the directions aren't good. Like things are not clear where they are. It doesn't for the farm, you're supposed to turn right. It doesn't say turn right. It's just like, hey, here's the farm. So you kind of just pick what entrance you go into. Like you're going left and the farm's over to the left, like the farm stands over to the right. And it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to know this. Like there's no communication. So that's like one of my triggers, like is because I teach people like how to communicate better, but it's like that's like nonstop here in Pennsylvania. Like it's just really bad. It's like so I ended up finding the farm. It was like actually down the road and like to the right and not to the left. And then I was like talking to these like this elderly couple because like that's who's out in the country. And they're like, "Oh, hi, who are you? I haven't seen you before, and I don't know your father and your cousin and your mama and your uncle and your aunt." And like, what? What's going on? And your car's in a ditch, huh? Like everything's like so weird to them. Like they've never like seen a stranger before. And then like the guy was gonna get his tractor and like try to pull out my car with his tractor. Oh, the fun I've had out here. And then like I ended up meeting the guy who was like I was like in his driveway and he was like, "Come on in." And like just make yourself comfortable. And he had like this fire going with this like wood burning stove and like this is all new to me again. Like this is not how you live in Jersey. I mean maybe like out west, but like West Jersey, but like that's not where I was living. I was living right outside New York City. And he was like, "Just come in." And like I was at his house for like literally 5 hours and I was like going through in my head, I was like, this guy could be a total psycho. Like he could be tying me up and like killing me and like torturing me and like, I don't know, one too many Lifetime movies I've watched. And but he was like really nice guy and he was like, take my number. And he was like cooking for me. There's like a lot of like men from like all ages out in the country that are single and like they live single and they're like single forever. And he was like cooking for me and I was going through his cabinets and telling him which of his foods were GMO. And I was like playing with his dog and his cat, and he had horses in the backyard. So like I was happy with all the animals. But I was like thinking in the back of my head, I was like, this is like so like awesome. but also so strange. Like I've never had experiences like that. Again, like living in Jersey or New York, I lived in South Florida. Like I've never like had any of these experiences before. And he was just totally fine, like me being in his house and cooking for me and us talking for a long time. And like he stopped working. Like it was during the weekday. Like he stopped working. He was just hanging out with me and like he had all these guns displayed and like animals that he killed. And I was like, I don't know if we're safe here. I was like just thinking like I don't know like is this smart, Blaire? Like what's going on here? You know? And then he was like, take my number and put it in your phone, and I'm your emergency contact now. Like, if you ever need anything. And like, the reason why I was at his house for like 5 hours was because like it took like the tow trucks, like, no one wanted to come out to the country. And like, I guess they kept passing on the jobs that were like listed on like, because you get like free towing through your insurance, or like, I'm assuming you do. But like every time it came up, like no one wanted to go out to the country, so they kept passing it. And I kept calling my insurance company. I was like, "Where is this tow truck?" Like again, like in Jersey, like if you need a tow truck, it's like maybe like an hour you're waiting or something. I don't know. I mean, this hasn't happened to me in like a really long time, if ever. And but like it just kept getting like later and later, and then it was like dark out, and I was like, okay, I guess I just didn't go anywhere today. And I was just like, it was just interesting. I need more water. So I guess this is the story we're telling today. This was not what I was going to share, but I guess we start the story from the beginning, right? Um, so what I was going to say, so I just wanted to finish that tow truck story and like meet Blaire. Blaire wakes up in the morning, the first day she's in Pennsylvania, and she's like, "Let's go to the farm." Like I was going, I think, to a different farm, and I was driving and I saw a sign for another farm, and I was like, yes, we're having this experience. This is what I moved out here for. And then my whole like that was done. Like that day was done. I got like detoured to like hang out with this dude, and like I never spoke to him again. I never like that was it. Like, which is another Pennsylvania thing, I think, is like, or at least the experience that I had like in the beginning was like I would meet all these people and have these like really intimate like conversations and like spend hours with them and like talking to them. Like you go to the super, like it's not even the supermarket. I would just go to like the local, it's not a supermarket as like maybe it like a huge thing. It's just like this little like food store. And it seems like it's funny because my parents ended up coming out to visit me, and I took my parents to like where I love going food shopping, and my father was walking around, he's like, it's weird in here. I was like, I know, but it's awesome and it has everything you need. But it was like it's just a totally different world out, like again, like where I was originally living, and like that was the fun of it. So I write about all of that in my homeless experience books. And what happened, just to kind of, so I was like having all these conversations with people and like being like really intimate with like everyone, like random people. Like again, I meet people, somebody at the food store, and you end up like, again, in Jersey, just comparing it to like where I've been in like Jersey, New York City, Florida, you're not talking to like the clerks at the supermarket. Like you're like, where is this? And you're on with your business, or like maybe you're having like a really short conversation. Like I move out to Pennsylvania, and then like you're yapping with someone for like an hour about like their chickens are laying eggs and like the land. And I don't know, I'm like knowing everything about their life, and then they know about me. I just moved out here and blah blah blah. And like it was like really interesting and like fun, as well as like really weird too. Like it kept boggling my mind, which is like also one of the themes that I had in Pennsylvania. There was like so many stuff that was like breaking up my like thought process and my programming. And I'm going to share down the line, like, so if you're interested in this material, like come to the class that I'm going to put up, like probably by the time you're watching this, is like lessons I learned from my homeless experience. Because um there's different ways that this material goes. It goes in one way as far as like I learned like these practical lessons and to apply to my life to make my dreams come true. And there's another layer and level of that is like I learned how to start manipulating and like mastering the matrix. Like, and so that's another level of like what was going on for me when I was like having this like homeless experience. Um, so I want to just kind of go back to like I want to go back to like how I was like manifesting the house. Um, so it seemed like totally impossible because again, like I didn't have money for the house. I gave notice. I couldn't stay at my apartment complex anymore anyway. I was fighting with like the management company, which was like very typical of like I just like would always like end up getting in like these like fights or situations with like wherever I was, like with people, with like living situations, with like work situations. Like it would always go sour in one way or the other. And then I would be like ejected from places. And like that was like always like one of the themes of my life too, which I've sorted out. Thank God. I learned how to like really control that ship because it was very stressful for many years of my life, even before I was like aware of it. I mean, I can think back to like when I was in college and like I was having an issue with like one of my roommates and like it was very uncomfortable like living in the in our apartment and like that went real sour and again like it's been patterns. So we have these patterns in our life, you know? So I could not like stay at my apartment complex, nor did I want to. I had no family to go back to because I was estranged from them and I just finished like fighting with them also. So like there was that. I would say I had no money, or rather I thought I had no money because I actually did have money, but at the time I felt like I had no money. Um, I didn't have like I was running my own business, but there was nothing really I could like show to like like to do any sort of like background check with that or like consistent salary. Like it wasn't like like now a lot of the places like well it's been for a while, but they ask you for like three times the amount of paycheck or four times the amount of like your pay, like you have to show the rent four times in your, so I didn't have that either. There was like literally nothing I had. Like I was like, again, like if I had told this story to my father, who's like very left brain logical thinking, he would be yelling at me like, Blaire, what are you doing? Like, you know better than that. You're a smart girl. Like, this is not how the world works. But I was like so like tied into like my magic and like believing and it had to work because like I had nowhere else to go. Um and I wanted to move out to the country so bad and get out of Jersey and all of that. So what happened was I when you start manifesting and you get into this like sacred space, like this energy comes over you that you're like, this has to work. Like it's like the doubts like sort of leave, like you go into another dimension. And by day 21, I had found because yeah, I just remember this. I was working with this realtor um who was originally from Jersey, but she moved out to the country also. But she had like that Jersey attitude and that I like, it's like spiciness, but like and she also is Jewish too. So she like and I was raised Jewish. So it just it felt very like familiar and comforting to like work with her and she was looking for places for me and she was like, Blaire, I support the whole manifesting thing. Like she kind of had some concepts of it or whatever. She's like, but this is impossible. Like you're not gonna like. She's like, I'm telling other people about who like what I'm helping you with. Again, there's more to the story here, but she's like, I'm telling other realtors and like asking all my contacts if they have anything. I know people who own property. She's like, I own property. She's like, there's nothing available. Like this was okay. I'm like, it's coming back to me. This was a while ago. So this was like two and a half years ago or so. So also this was right after like the con sort of ended. I mean, did it really end? I mean, I know people are still getting boosters now, which is weird. But like um there was a housing crisis. So there was like no housing also. She was like, Blaire, like what you're trying to do is impossible. It's not going to happen. She was like, I have this client who has perfect credit, can show like amazing salary, has all these like things basically like that, like the logical things. She was like, they can just show everything. And they're getting passed up for like rentals because like there's nothing and people are offering more money for these rentals. And like I'm not like I'm trying to help you. She was like running around, like she was a really nice lady. She was like running around. She's like, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to believe, but like this is impossible. Like this is like insane, like what you're trying to do. And I was like, I look at you can help, you cannot help. There's no pressure. I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to do this no matter what. I just wanted to like, I just thought I would reach out to a realtor and like see if you could find anything, if you could help, if you knew of anything, any friends. And I was reaching out to several realtors, but I worked for with her for a little bit. And we tried different angles of like how to get me into like, because I told her I was like, I want to live on like a huge estate, like with animals. Like I want to live with horses or like cows or whatever, and like, out in the woods. Um, and we were trying different angles on how to get me in there because like again I work with like horses, and she was like, maybe you can like work on the property and like live in the barn or something, like do a work, they do a lot of like work something out here, like work live situations. So she was like, maybe you can do that. And I was like, oh, that's cool because that's one of the reasons why I'm moving out to Pennsylvania too. Like I want to do more of my horse work. So she was like, we were trying it from all different angles. And she was like, I'm telling my friends, and they're like laughing at me. And they're like, this girl, this stranger is going to end up living in your basement. She's not going to be able to find a place. She was like, I had this client who, again, has all these like perfect things on paper to show to like rent a place. And she has a dog, and like this woman is like an older woman. She's like, she's getting rejected from every place. I can't find a place for her, Blaire. She's like, you don't have half these things that this lady has. Plus, she's willing to pay more for the rent. I can't get her in somewhere. I'm not going to be able to get you in somewhere. So like these were the conversations I was having, but I was like, I just kept, again, like I just kept like in such close connection with like source and like in my power and like just doing all these things. It's a conversation for another day, and like you can schedule an appointment to work with me and come to my classes and learn that way if you want to learn what I was doing. By day 21, I had found my house. And by day 21, I had met these people who were very nice, had been praying for someone like me to rent it from them. Um, So, and it just worked. Like within like a week, I had signed the lease and everything, and then it was like 5 days later, I finished packing everything up and I drove out to Pennsylvania, and like that was a done deal. But like any of the things that I didn't have, they didn't care about or they were okay with, like they were just like, yeah, you could live here. Um, and that lease was only for 4 months. And I thought that was going to be enough time for me to get on my feet out in Pennsylvania. And and it wasn't. And that's when my homeless experience began. We'll, we'll leave it with a cliffhanger. And technically, I mean, one can say that even me living for months in one place was still was maybe the start of me being homeless. A lot of things came into question for me with this experience because I had to really look at my programming. What does homeless mean? How do we define it? How does society look at it? How am I looking at it? How am I looking at myself and things like that? So, what I'll share here to wrap it up as far as like the lesson, and again, this wasn't originally like the story I was going to share with you guys, but um, what I learned to do, and I was doing this before, but it really kicked into high gear when I moved to Pennsylvania. And we'll say like with me being able to rent this house and stuff like that, it really, and also the experiences I was having in the first couple days there, it really started me on this journey of examining more deeply like my programming, my thoughts, how I viewed life, how I judge things. Um, and also like what I thought I was capable of. Like I was on a high, like for having manifested that house, I was on a high for weeks. Like I was just so happy being there. And it was like the experience of living in the house, like by myself, like no frequencies. I just was like getting the best sleep and like just being able to relax. My whole system, like just relaxed. Like my body started healing. Like there was just like such an amazing experience of just being in my own energy for like probably the first time in my life. Not having like that was another thing I didn't want to be living in an apartment complex anymore because I'm very psychic. I'm a psychic medium and I'm able to pick up other people's like energy as well as their thoughts. So I was always hearing and feeling everything that was going on all around me. And my neighbors were involved with various forms of abuse. Like the neighbors below me was like a domestic violence situation. Real classy apartment complex. Young kids, they were indigos also, but like several years younger than me. And that was domestic violence situation, a domestic abuse situation. So like I was always hearing that go on. The neighbors that were next to me, again, another indigo. Like I'm always surrounded by indigos because I am an indigo and I'm a teacher of indigo and a healer of indigos. So I'm always around them also. So the guy who lived next to me, also an indigo, had a younger daughter who's like super adorable, but he was abusive towards her. And I would always hear him yelling at her, which would drive me crazy. Both of the situations, just the whole apartment complex was like chaotic in various forms. Um, and then there was like also this couple that like lived next to me, and the guy was, so this was not for the whole time, but like for a period of time. And is a firefighter. So I would constantly be having like dreams and thoughts about fire. So like I wasn't able to like really rest because I was always picking up what was going on in these people's like energy field and like their dramas in their life and their thoughts. Like I just really needed to have that. And just in general, like I need that space to myself so I can just like unload like whatever is going on with me and like whatever I'm picking up in the world. So I feel like I went on a little tangent. I'm like, what was I talking about? The lesson. So I think just like the initial lesson, we'll just say with like manifesting that house, it really brought me into some new level of power that like I can literally do anything because like what I just accomplished with this house was like absolutely impossible in everybody's eyes. And like literally, even if I was like in my human self, like if I got into my logical brain, I would be like, this shit's never happening. And like, you have nowhere to go. Like, this is not going to happen. But like, it did. Like, it did. And then just like, as like a little, like, we'll say like a preview for like future like stories in this experience. And again, like you can hear these stories, like if you come to class, or if you read my book series when it comes out about my homeless experience slash freedom journey, is that I didn't know it at the time, but this was like foreshadowing like what I did from like my transition from like Jersey to Pennsylvania to manifest this house. That was foreshadowing what I was going to do over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in Pennsylvania. And I'm not even exaggerating, because then what happened was, being in Pennsylvania, I moved something like 20 times. And I would go from rags to riches in the places that I lived. Huge estates. I ended up manifesting a 30 plus acre estate that I was living on there, on a farm, a non-working farm, but still a farm, a huge estate in a wealthy area. And then going to living in an old dirty warehouse. I have a video up on about that. And then I would manifest a huge property, 50 acres, again, living on a non-working farm, which out in the country, which is where I wanted to live, to then going to the flip side of it, living in a dirty motel with ex-cons and druggies and not feeling safe. So I didn't know it, obviously, at that time when I was like, oh, I'm going to move out to Pennsylvania to live my dreams. Well, it was like, yeah, Blaire, you're going to live your dreams. But in order to like get your dreams and solidify your dreams and be able to like maintain your dreams, because it's one thing to get a manifestation, you have to learn how to keep it. That's the mastery. There's two levels of the mastery, right? Getting your manifestation, keeping it, controlling the ship, driving the ship, going where you want to go, not letting these other things move you. So, yeah, I manifested that huge house. I felt on top of the world, so proud of myself, so proud of myself. And anyone who heard the story was like, holy shit, Blaire, you should be telling this story to everyone. You're an amazing manifester. But then I went from there to a campground to another dirty motel. Like it was just boom, 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 boom. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you staying, Blaire? What's going on? What are you choosing? What are you choosing? So that's my story from today. I'm trusting that you liked it. It's an awesome story. I have awesome stories. That's why I'm starting to tell them. I have awesome stories in so many areas of my life, health stuff and the alien stories and attracting my twin flame and this love relationship I'm in now. Like there's just one story after the next. The area where I'm living, how I've transformed it and transcended it, writing another book series about that. Like I just have awesome stories and it's time for me to share them with the world. So I look forward to seeing you guys in classes. Any support material you want to learn, anything is available, anything and everything's available on my websites, loveguru.net and thealiennetwork.com. Bye-bye.